Barnes in a Savannah high main, so that even if you get your Shiraj in hand, Barnes can bring you something relevant out of your deck, but then you are splitting your win condition if you don't get that into 50-50. So
yeah.
Well, we'll have to wait and see, but I'm going to ask you guys once again for a prediction. Kieran, since you've been doing so well tonight, I'll go to you first. What do you reckon, Kieran? Who's going to take this one?
3-1. I think ball control. I'm just deciding 3-1 or 3-2, but I'll go 3-1 ball control.
3-0 ball control.
3-0 ball control. Ooh. I'm just going to copy Kiernan since he's been so successful and I want to get at least one win on the board. I think it is going to be ball control. I'm going to go for a 3-1 because I reckon Osha can take at least one game off of him. But I think it's a safe bet to go for our reigning champion in ball control. Definitely one of the best players in the UK.
Yeah. Also, I'll give you a tip on predictions. You very rarely see 3-0s in Conquest because it's so hard to achieve that because eventually you're probably going to queue into a counter matchup. So I generally never go for 3-0s when I predict a Conquest.
This guy giving me prediction tips.
So I said that I do pull some of these predictions out, of nowhere. But the 0 is
just the 0.
It's just the 0 is something I can never count because in Conquest generally you queue into a counter matchup.
Yeah,
at some
usually.
point.
Yeah, I think that's fairly expected. But I believe we're just about ready to head into this game and kick off the final match of the night to see whether it's going to be Osha or Boar Control taking the second week. Osha unfortunately lost out in the first week of the Premiership. Boar Control, he managed to get his win though, so we'll see whether Boar Control can continue his win streak and match everyone else at the top of the scoreboard, or whether it's going to be Osha managing to get toward the middle of the table. But Hunter versus Hunter to start things off.
Yep, and no Yasiraj this time for Boar Control.
Well, we don't know that.
Well,
I mean, be just a 1 in a million
if
card.
he's thrown it in there as well, why the heck not? But I think this is just looking towards your normal mid-range Hunter. It might include something like Enzoth, which we saw earlier.
TP, Torpedo.
Yep, exactly.
Raven was a big, proprietor of it. Maybe we see Ball Control bring that one back in because it does give you like this late game win condition against a lot of other decks, and it doesn't really take that much away from the deck the way it revolves itself. You sub out one card, and maybe that's subbing out something like a Barnes for the Enzoth, because you don't really need Barnes in Death Rattle Hunter because you're going to be playing so many Death Rattles throughout the course of the game anyway. Why give yourself the chance of getting one worse Death Rattle on the board?
Stranglethorn Tiger in Ball Control's deck. Not something you see every day as a Hunter. And a King's Elect, which has kind of found itself falling out of the meta recently as well. So, Ball Control going with something slightly different. Perhaps like a more... I don't know, this is a strange approach, but we'll see how it unfolds. Osha does have the Fiery Bat for this turn 1 if he doesn't want to coin out the Kind Grandmother.
Has Ball Control got a bunk bed in his room?
Yes.
Bunk beds in 2016.
Bunk beds are legit, mate.
I actually really missed the bunk bed I had when I was a kid.
So much space for activities.
I always used to hit my head. I shared a bunk bed with my little brother. Always used to smack my head on it. And actually, do you want to know the worst thing? If there's someone on the bunk above and they wet the bed, that is a bad time.
Well, hopefully, Ball Control doesn't have to deal with that situation. The only situation he has to deal with now is the kindly grandmother that is coming onto the board.
And Osha's definitely going to go face here because he just result in you get an awful situation that your Death Rattle procs first, so it 100% goes to face, and then Ball Control's stuck with a 3-2 on board, and it's just going to trade favourably, and then you have to trade your own card in the grandmother. The possibilities are endless. Basically, don't trade here. But Ball Control's going to do it for him anyway.
So there is the Enzoth as well from Ball Control.
Yep.
Call of the Wild coming into the hands of Osha. Now, if you were watching last week, Osha lost a Hunter Mirror match where double Call of the Wild was drawn by his teammate Khalil Leroy. So this time he's finally drawn it because he just didn't draw it last time. And actually, in a Hunter Mirror matchup, those Call of the Wild are so important. However, I wouldn't call this necessarily a mirror just because of that Enzoth. I'm not expecting Enzoth to be in Osha's deck, but...
I don't know whether I can say this on stream, but...
but I'm going to say it on stream.
There's a nice meme that's been tweeted at me, or rather just tweeted by one of our resident ESL PR girls, now in America, does Guild Wars 2 a lot, aka Munchables. Tusks out for...
AKA Munchables. I don't think she's called Munchables.
Tusks out for Borambe.
Tusks.
I quite like this. This is going to be my catchphrase for Ball Control from now on.
I like it. I like it. Well, let's see.
Dan's got his head in his hands. It's got to that point in the night.
We're here.
Yeah.
We're ready. We're
We are
Hearthstoning.
here. We are here. And I mean, there's a potential turn here of coining out an infested wolf.
Yeah, it's an awkward turn, isn't it, Munch?
There's not really a lot else you want to do here.
I feel like you have to coin out, but then you just lose your infested wolf, regardless to 2 lesser drops per se. You could also think about like a really poor Unleash the Hounds, but none of that feels particularly. None of Osha's plays feel particularly satisfying.
Unleash, Deadly Shot, and Kill Commander all essentially do the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
You coin out Infested Wolf, but then your turn 4 play looks pretty disgusting as well, because you're going to have to use something in its less mana unless you draw something better. But yeah, it's just an ugly play, but I think the coin out of the Infested Wolf is the best thing to do to try and regain this board control.
It's going to be the Infested Wolf dropped in the end. I would expect the Kindly Grandmother just to go face as well. You want to hold on to that Death Rattle. But certainly ball control looking like he is in the driver's seat. Deadly Shot drawn into hand. There is potential to be using that, but also with a freezing trap available, you could just drop the Kindly Grandmother.
Yeah, I think the trouble is, what are you wanting to return with that freezing trap?
Either of them, to be honest. It just gets you board control
It's
back.
just about tempo, right?
Yeah.
So do you play freezing trap and Kindly Grandmother, trade into the Kindly Grandmother, kill what comes out of it, and then you guarantee that freezing trap on the Infested Wolf?
I think regardless of what happens, that's you're going to result with the same board state, so I do like that, personally.
Or do you just go face and allow it to unfold however it unfolds?
I mean, regardless of what happens, are you going to be... I mean, I think, actually, no, I prefer taking out the Kindly Grandmother. You're going to lose one of your 2 drops here, but it means that the... Okay, no, he's going to just let it unfold. I think either play is difficult to coordinate, right? You can't. I couldn't really say one way or the other which one was better. This way, it means that the Infested Wolf will be able to spawn its Death Rattle for sure. It's just whether Boar Control is that bothered, because he can clean up the following turn quite readily. But Unleash the Hounds coming out could be a big deal here.
Yeah, because he could unleash into this freezing trap. You're completely right. But if there's one person I'm going to trust, it is our reigning champion, Boar Control. I would never doubt any play he makes.
Ilamau.
Never ever. Even if it's the worst play you've ever seen.
Never! So Unleashed Hounds will come out. He is thinking freezing trap. Even if it was something like explosive, this is still fine because you can just destroy almost all of the board, if not the whole board. The whole board, in fact. But there we go. That will be the freezing trap, which it feels a lot better sending one of those hounds back to your hand than one of those Death Rattle, one of those important Death Rattle minions. But I really think that Call of the Wild in Osha's hand is going to be a big game changer. And he'll probably think he's in the lead. And then suddenly that ends off, it's going to change the party.
Well, at least Osha's now got some company to help him through this difficult battle. Someone sat down to chow down behind him.
Welcome to the ESL UK Premiership, friend.
Welcome to the Premiership. You're now famous.
Is that Duncan? Is that Meltdown Duncan behind him?
I do not know.
Yes, okay, that's Meltdown Duncan. I knew I recognised the old Duncan.
He's playing from Meltdown, I believe.
Yes, in fact, that's where we held an event quite recently, and I recognise there's basically a big set of tables in front of him, and sometimes they have gaming chairs behind there. It's quite a unique little area, actually.
Here we go, Stranglethorn Tiger, going to be played by Boar.
Deadly shot. Deadly shot.
Deadly Shot feels good. Well, of course it feels good, but I mean...
Feels good, man.
It's going to feel very bad for Ball Control, should I say. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a hand to the face palm coming out. Absolutely no reaction. I completely misread that situation.
I think kind of expected though, right? And now he moves into turn 6 to drop a Savannah. He knows... Well, he doesn't know for a fact, but it's likely that there won't be another Deadly Shot in hand.
Usually it's just the one, isn't it?
Carrion Grub. Now, that is something that Raven was a big fan of during the Season 1 ESL Premiership. Carry and Grub into Houndmaster. It was a pretty solid combo. Haven't seen it make a resurgence thus far in Hearthstone, frequently.
I'm quite a big fan of the carrying group, Even if you can't pull off the Houndmaster combo, it's still fantastic for early trading. And especially if you're in a matchup against another hunter, there are a lot of minions with 2 HP that you can just get nice, beneficial trades off with.
Does well against Kindly Grandmother, actually. So he's going to go for the Animal Companion here. Now the issue is, does he go for Kill Command?
I think so. I think you get rid of this high main.
Sure. I just feel like things are turning up at this point, and no one's getting ahead. But because we have this N'Zoth in hand of board control, you think that the further this gets ahead without someone having complete board control per se.
No pun intended.
No, yeah, everyone's heard that one to death, right? You're getting to a point where the N'Zoth hunter's going to come through like absolutely storming. The one big swing, I think, is going to be how Osha uses this Call of the Wild and whether board control is in a position to deal with it.
Yes, whether there's going to be enough on board. I mean, Deadly Shot doesn't get the right 50-50 that he wanted, but what we're saying is how the board is going to look when he does play that Call of the Wild. If there is a lot of board presence from board control, then that Call of the Wild isn't going to be as good, and if he's just having to remove stuff with it.
I mean, looking at where we are right now, the odds of it being a difficult board to clear for Osha when he plays that Call of the Wild on turn 8 seems pretty unlikely.
Yeah, for sure.
Here you could Eagle Horn Bow, then use one of the Hounds.
And then Argent Squire.
And then Argent Squire, yeah.
It seems good, man. I need to stop using man at the end of the time I say seems good.
It's just the word good suddenly has got man attached to it automatically at this stage.
Feels or seems. It just somehow rolls off the tongue that way these days.
Meme's good, man.
Yeah. So this is probably the optimal play at this point in time. Do you use the Hound? I think that's what he's thinking of. I think you do. Plus, that Argent Squire will get some value with a trade up at least, or in some way or shape or form with Call of the Wild next turn.
And actually, the Freezing Trap is going to be an alright counter to Call of the Wild, because it means that he's not going to be able to trade with that Carrion Grub with his Huffer.
And, well, actually, you can proc the Freezing Trap with the Argent Squire, because there isn't a way that you kill Argent Squire this turn.
You are right. Ordering is important.
Ordering is important, my friend.
You could always kill command it, but I'm not sure that's
your
the
face.
optimal play.
Your face when you told me that said everything about the thought of using kill command on a 1/1.
Well, I think, to be honest, just dropping the Carrion Grub, using the Hero Power, I would probably drop the Freezing Trap as well, but just kind of trying to thread some damage into face is always going to be a good situation, especially in this mirror matchup. And the Carrion Grub, once again, as we mentioned earlier, just a fantastic minion to just put on the board. It's fairly tanky, it's going to soak up some damage, it's going to take a decent amount of removal to get rid of. Nobody's going to want to use a kill command or anything like that on it.
I'm trying to think how many Death Rattles have been so far for board control. Definitely been.
There's been a Savannah
at
High
least
main.
One, if not two, Kindly Grandmothers.
There's
Savannah
one
High
Infested
main, one
Wolf.
Infested Wolf. So there's plenty there.
For N'Zoth, yeah. It's going to be a spicy turn when it comes to turn 10, and I don't know how much Osha's going to have to contest. Call of the Wild is good, but against an N'Zoth that brings back that much?
Well, it's still another turn away, though.
Yeah, and if Osha was to draw into another Call of the Wild, he's just pressuring lethal here.
I think he knows N'Zoth is a thing here for ball control. He's just saying, I need to win pretty regularly.
Sharpish.
Double kill command does mean he can clear up this whole board, though.
And keep his Carrion Grub alive.
Yeah. Kind of sucks for Osha. It's going to mean that with that board dealt with, ball control looks to be in a good spot with N'Zoth in hand as well.
Still take him down to 7 this turn, with 5 more available the next turn. If you draw any kind of damage, you're still looking in a good spot. Yes, okay, he's got this ends off, but there's no taunts there. There's nothing stopping him from going
So
face.
here's what I think has just maybe given Osha an unfortunate incident. If you take him down to 7 you want to be able to kill him with kill command and a beast and hero power. He's just played a beast.
Yeah.
That beast goes down to what's on board right now.
I was just thinking the exact same thing. He's now got to draw the kill command.
He's got bow. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
I'm just not thinking. He's got bow.
But the thing is, that it's very likely that a taunt could come out, especially if something like a Call of the Wild
Quick shot comes out.
Quick shot works, though. It's going to be lethal in the end, so Osha just about gets away with it. Skin of his teeth, though, I think it's fair to say on that one. That couldn't have really gone on much longer for Osha.
I think what he did so well was realize his win condition following into Enzoth. He was like, okay, well, I don't win versus Enzoth. There's one turn for me to get as much damage in as possible. I could very easily trade on board and make it look like I have a board control going into the Enzoth turn, but goes directly to face, realizing that, hey, the only way I win now is by drawing a kill commander or a quick shot or something down the line to give me some damage, and he does it. You can ignore my statement where I was like, maybe he should have not played Kindly Grandmother. That was a lol. But obviously we knew the second bow charge would have given him lethal with it, even without a beasted kill command. So yeah, that was the better play, because he, again, Hearthstone is playing to your win conditions, right? And he was like, I can't beat Enzoth. There's no way I beat Enzoth. So I have to just pummel as much damage into face now before that becomes an issue. Yeah,
and I mean, one of the things that I was wanting to talk about coming into this series is the fact that Osha is a player with a lot to prove right now.
Absolutely.
And going 1-0 up against the reigning champion, that's certainly a way to prove things. But this is looking very much like a Reno lot coming out from Osha.
You saw actually at the end of that game, Osha gave a nice fist pump. It does mean a lot to him. He's going to want to get this win on the board. He's not going to want to be at the bottom end of that table once again, is he?
And if you can win against ball control, like
the reigning champ.
Yeah, that is the way to really get yourself a leg up here in the Premiership. Here we go. Not the greatest of hands for Osha, but ball control with a decent curve. He's got 1 and 2. Can drop a freezing trap as well, but not the best ever either. Although the second Alec will certainly make things a little bit nicer for him.
It's looking pretty tasty now with that second elect coming down, actually. I mean, if he gets, I don't know, something like a high main as well off one of those elects, he's looking in a pretty good condition. Imp Gang Boss, though, will be a fantastic response to anything that Boar Control puts on the board.
Is this a Reno Dragon deck coming up from Osha, or it could just be straight up Dragon deck?
I mean,
it looks like a Dragon deck with the Blackwing Corruptor there.
There is some fantastic kind of Dragon Warlocks going around at the moment that are incredibly powerful. It's not really reached the height of the meta just yet, but I think people are trying to find ways of what's working and what's not working at the moment. And well, now it'll be a chance to demonstrate.
I really like Blackwing Technician here as well. 3/5 on the board becomes well, it's basically like carrying Grub, right? Except it's got that extra bit of attack.
Yeah. I completely, obviously it's weak to something like Freezing Trap, but he doesn't know that Boar Control will have Freezing Trap in hand. It just seems like the more sensible play. I wouldn't be too fussed with an Imp Gang Boss coming down here. It kind of achieves the same thing, but you start to spawn a couple of minions on top of that as well. I think this probably isn't Reno. Now, the only reason I say I probably think it isn't Reno is it's very hard to make dragons work when you've only got 1 copy of them each in your deck. So I wouldn't be surprised, but I would if it wasn't. Sorry, I would be surprised if it was Reno, but obviously there is that chance where he just gets lucky with his draws and actually ends up pulling dragons off pretty quickly.
Our Master off the top was great. It allows him to just kill off this Imp Gang Boss with ease, actually, and keep the minion alive. Fiery bat alive, and the question is now: do you run your Elec into that 1/1, into that Imp?
What do you get punished by if you don't? You lose your 4/1. What do you get punished? What could you get punished by if you do?
Well, I mean, I guess you keep your 4/1 alive, right? So I think that's the main objective.
Yeah,
here.
that's what I would be inclined to agree with. And you lose to Hellfire anyway next turn. So why? Yeah, I think this is better, right? Because Mortal Coil is going to damage you either way, and now you have a better chance of keeping your 4/1 alive, which I think is the better option. Means you can trade it up very nicely. And I think this is what we're potentially going to see him do following turn, because Osha is thinking about what he can play.
That Drake coming off the top was actually really important.
Yeah, I was about to say, Twilight Guardian is looking like a pretty tasty turn right now.
So I'm not too familiar with this matchup. I mean, I've not played any Dragon Warlock, to be completely honest. It's not a massive thing right now. But I would assume that the advantage comes to the Hunter, just because in general, this deck seems to be relatively slow, so the Hunter can just push in a lot of damage. But there should be tools to deal with things. I mean, we see the Twisting Nether there, of course. Lord Jiraxxus can save you later on. I mean, if it gets to that late stage of the game, then maybe there's a chance for Warlock, but knowing that Enzoth is in this deck as well, I mean, and Boar Control as well, giving the thumbs up during that Savannah High Main from Alex, so that's going to look good, because it's turn 5, it's Stranglethorn Tiger into Savannah High Main.
You know, I'm still pretty convinced that this is Reno. We haven't seen a single duplicate just yet.
Maybe,
There's
actually.
been quite a few, like Straza coming out. I think just a lot of these cards lend to it being Reno. Like, for example, Earthen Ring Farseer, if you were going full dragon, would you really have a slot for that?
No, I guess you just run a bit more of the high-end dragons that you potentially wouldn't run, and it gives you more activators and the like. Actually, I wouldn't expect to see Blackwing Technician run in a full dragon deck anyway, because you just take that out for space for something like a Nether Spite Historian. Is that the card name? Yeah, you're looking at me like you have no idea.
I mean, where's my Google?
Nether Spite Historian, something. Yeah, again, there's a lot of cards that
Okay, Google.
Yeah. There's a lot of other cards that kind of supersede how useful Blackwing Technician can be. So actually, maybe I'm going back down where Munch was saying. Maybe this is Reno, especially with Defender of Argus, Alex Straza, you know, all these kind of extra cards thrown in as well.
They're all sort of, I suppose the word would be like luxury cards, right? They're cards that you would love to include, but they're often not quite as good as other options.
So if he had traded there, now he can get punished by the Shadow Flame.
Oh yeah, because Shadow Flame will do 1 extra damage. Yeah, because of the Azure Drake.
It's whether, I mean, Osha's not going to be silly enough to attack first, because obviously he's worried about that freezing trap.
I feel like you just have to Shadow Flame. You can't even take the risk of freezing trap. If you take the risk of freezing trap, you just lose.
Tap first, interesting.
I
think that's because he's looking for Reno right now.
Yeah.
He's not got all that much HP to play with. Obviously, that freezing trap still in play for Boar Control. Should be able to.
There we go. He gets the thumbs up as well.
But, okay, he's got Reno Jackson. We know that Boar Control has Enzoth. This is going to go to like a late game. I think Jiraxxus may make the difference.
Would you just consider Earthen Ring Farseeing and using Defender of Argus right now, and then you can bounce Defender of Argus back with the freezing trap? Or actually, no, you could just bounce Reno back if it doesn't get dealt with, but then Boar Control will deal with it. So I'm getting too excited. I actually wouldn't mind seeing the Earthen Ring Farseer and the Defender of Argus, because then you bounce it back very easily, or even just Blackwing Technician and Defender of Argus.
I mean, it's relatively greedy, because if you're only healing yourself up to 15, and then there were 2 kill commands in the hand of Boar Control,
it still doesn't kill you, right?
Yeah. If he just uses Farseer, okay. If he uses the Argus, then that's fine.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You use the Argus with the Blackwing Technician. Argus is going to be used all the time because you want to bounce it back. Also, this may spell out to Boar Control that he might not have Reno, because a lot of people probably would have just Reno'd in that situation.
I do prefer this play though, because it kind of just obviously it saves your Reno. You know that there's no way he's got lethal in that situation.
Oh, and this is going to be great next turn, because you can Acidic Swamp Ooze and Reno
as well.
It's the freezing trap procced. And at this point, I think you have to go for the Reno. And then Acidic Swamp Ooze, like you say, Gaskin, is going to be a fantastic option. And you get rid of the bonus stack as well on proccing the trap.
I'd like to take credit for saying that he should play it. Ooze.
Yeah, right, okay.
Call of the Wild off the top, though. That is one heck of an answer to Reno Jackson. He says, "Look, yeah, okay, you can heal back up to 30, but I'm just going to take 12 off you."
A couple of answers still available here.
The best answer is Reno into the 5-4, then just play Blackwing Corruptor and Hellfire, deals the entire board, and you're left with a 5-1 Blackwing Corruptor on board.
Does it leave the...
Leaves Leok as
Leaves
well.
Leok as a 2-1.
Oh, God, yeah, it leaves Leok.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, God.
I got it wrong.
I can't believe you've done this!
But I think that leaving a 2-1 is alright, but then you're worried again about another Call of the Wild, I suppose. But
For
you're
sure.
always worried about another Call of the
How
Wild.
many
That's
Call-
what hunters do.
How many Call of the Wilds can you really play around? You
2.
could-
Two,
Two
hopefully.
specifically.
Yeah,
I
no,
would
but I
say.
mean, like, how, at the end of the day, how many times can you play around it in a row? Like, it's more of a rhetorical question.
And that's the thing, you play around 2 Call of the Wilds, right? And then you have an end off to deal with afterwards. It's
Twisting Nether seems okay. I also wouldn't mind Earthen Ring and then Defender of Argus again.
Twisting Nether gets rid of most of the board, but those 2/2/2s, 2/2/2s? It's weird to say. Will still do some damage, and Ball Control, it's not like he's running out of resources either. He has a, there it is. Play around it, we
hush
say.
you.
Hush now.
Running out of resources, I don't think so. Sunny Jim. Call of the Wild comes off the top and will smash Osha in the face.
Nether Spire Historian.
Hey! Hello, lads.
So Alex Rosa does nothing. Jiraxxus does nothing. Hellfire does nothing. Well, it gets rid of some of the board, but you're still dead.
With Hellfire and Blackwing, you can still die.
You still die.
Do you Nether Spire for a Chillmore?
Yeah, you totally Nether Spire for a Chillmore.
But then even so, you're still dead.
Yeah, but it's just your best. It's your you can't. You like well, kill commands just can't play around them now. So.
But even if you get a Chillmore, right? He trades and then his Leok and his bear.
Yes, true. He's still dead with the Chillmore.
I forgot the bear's name.
Misha.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's not many ways you win. In fact, I don't think even just playing Jiraxxus, even just playing Alexstrasza, none of these things help you. Call of the Wild, just too good, man.
It is, and that's what makes Hunter so strong right now, to be honest. It's just an incredible card. I think when it got announced, everyone knew it was going to be an incredible card. But there we go. Ball Control ties it up 1-1, and both wins have been made with the Hunter decks now.
Yeah, so that's the Hunters out of the running. And we'll see what we're going to be moving on into now. And interestingly as well, no Druid available for one of our 2 players. So that is going to be a factor moving forwards. And it's a factor that we don't often see currently in Hearthstone because, you know, that Malagos Druid so popular right now. And for good reason as well.
Has Ball Control still got his Druid available?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So he had the
So
Shaman
just
ban.
one with Hunter.
Yeah. So he's got his Druid, but then obviously Osha won't have his.
No,
Osha
Osha had Warrior and Warlock still.
Yeah, he's got one. He's going to go for the Warlock again. Gets the Nether Spite Historian and the Fairy Dragon early on, which it can't be bad. Should be able to contest board against this early. Oh, Doomsayer is great as well. So this is a really good set of answers. Yeah, really good set of answers here for Osha.
Basically, none of the... You know, when you're playing a Reno deck, it's very likely that you get one of those late game kind of bricks in your hand in your first mulligan. I think he's got pretty lucky, to be honest, to have a hand this nice.
But I mean, Ball Control's hand's not too bad either. And this is going to be the Dragon-off, right? A Dragon Warrior is renowned as the best Dragon deck around, but there are people trying to make this Dragon Warlock a thing, and now we can finally find out if it is any good against the reigning champion of Dragon decks.
I actually really wouldn't mind to just see Doomsayer come down now, because the only thing you get punished by is Blood to Wicker and Alexstrasza Champion, Blood to Wicker, Fiery War Axe, or Execute, which are all, you know, they're fairly slim possibilities with just 4 cards in hand.
But also they're huge commitments, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to use the Blood to Wicker that early just to deal with a minion? Do you just sacrifice the tempo that you've got? Do you sacrifice your Fairy Dragon? I think that's a tricky decision from both sides.
Well, I mean, it's what is his other play, right? You don't really want to play that Nether Spite because that just dies and it gives tempo to Ball Control. So I think this is completely right.
Yeah.
Play the Doomsayer. There is no punish there, so he will just have to go face and accept that his board's being cleared.
What is he being offered? Oh, straight away onto the life tap. So
Almost always picked as well.
So Dragon Warlock becomes Dragon Warlock. Dragon Warrior becomes Dragon Warlock, and he gets the Warlock Hero Power as well. So actually that's going to be really important in this matchup. That's crazy important.
The only thing that obviously replenishes a Dragon Warrior's hand is Curator. So this is super strong because now you're going to continuously be able to pull threats from your deck. You will never run out of steam. And actually he's got the answer to this Blackwing Technician, but will involve him sacrificing the Alexstrasza's champion if he wants to do so. It's the only way he gets rid of it right now.
You still don't gain control of the board. That's the big issue with it. But I think you maybe have to. Oh, he's actually just going to go face. He's not fussed right now. He's quite happy to just start to push damage.
So what's the play here for Osha? Because as far as I see it, he's got two options. He can coin Blackwing Corruptor, he can just straight up Hellfire, or he can just use the 2/2 drops. I actually really wouldn't mind just to see straight up coin Blackwing Corruptor into the Fairy Dragon, and then you suddenly looking like you're on the up again.
You set the pace, don't you, by doing that? You really just gain the tempo, and you're forcing maybe a Corcoran Elite to try and deal with that Blackwing Corruptor, and that's... You can see Ball Control's looking to their heavens. He knows that how frustrating that is to see that on a turn 4.
And obviously, Corcoran is in hand. There is that answer to the 5/4, but then there's still the Blackwing Technician on board. And that's one of the things about Blackwing Technician, which is, you know, it's always been that it's kind of like the bridesmaid, never the bride. No one actively wants to pick up the Blackwing Technician when there's other cards that you can go for instead. But actually, in itself, just as a trading tool, it can be phenomenally good value. Look at these options right now. Nexia Chillmore.
This is what's so good about Netherspite Historian, right? You usually are going to pick up something that's high impact because of the limited amount of dragons that there are available. I've never done it and not found that I've got at least a 7 or 8 drop in the choice of 3. Obviously, there is cases where you will get lower level dragons too, but you know, right here, this is a tough choice. All of those can be impactful in this particular matchup. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Twilight Guardian or Chillmore. I think Onyxia is good, but you kind of weak to Ravaging Ghoul Execute, which is a real threat from the Dragon Warrior.
Looking at his hand now, I kind of like Twilight Guardian because it's something that's going to make an impact now.
Next turn for sure.
It means like you're not going to fall behind. He does go to choose that, and I'm not entirely surprised. He has the tempo, he has the board control, and he wants to keep that right now. And he's able to heal up his Twilight Guardian.
So Munch raised a really interesting point about Dragon Warrior, that you just do not want to be in the situation when you're playing catch-up the entire game. This is not how Dragon Warrior is supposed to work. You're supposed to take the tempo, accelerate, and be the one threatening lethal as soon as possible. And Munch raised the point that actually you're seeing ball control play here. He's playing catch-up. And this is not where you want to be as Dragon Warrior.
No. It's quite difficult to, like, especially when you're against another dragon deck as well, where the minions, if you've got dragons in hand, are so mana efficient. It's very difficult to actually keep up to that, never mind catch up. And we'll see what Osha is going to go for. I'm not surprised to see Twilight Guardian. Follow that probably with a Fairy Dragon as well.
Maybe Power Overwhelming onto the Netherspite here to take down this 5/4. I think that's a perfectly viable play. You keep that board.
You don't lose. You don't have any threats looming on your Twilight Guardian. I completely agree, Gaskin. I think this is the play to make. And Ball Control just can't believe it. All of the answers are there for Osha in a Reno deck, which is sometimes something that is hard to make happen.
There's another Fiery War Axe, but he's already got one kind of clogging up his hand at this point. Has to drop the 6/6 Dracnoid Crusher. Feels bad, man.
It does. But now you're finally into a position where answers are not free-flowing here for Osha. He's going to tap.
I don't think he's necessarily looking for answers, though.
Yeah. He's got control right now. What do you get punished by from Dragon Warrior? Not much right now. Although I think actually Grommash proves a real issue next turn, because Draconid Crusher trades into the 3/6 nicely, and then you just play Grommash into the 4/4, and suddenly then Ball Control's right back into the driving seat.
And then,
but then there's things like Hellfire. Will finish off the Dracnoid Crusher.
True.
And you can finish off the trade, and then there's still 4 mana remaining to play something like a Twilight Guardian.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even in Gang Boss.
He could even Hellfire into Shadow Flame if he's really worried about this Grom. Could clear the whole board here. I think
you
it's
could just
a bit overcool.
if you're going to Hellfire into Shadow Flame, you could literally just trade your dude in and then play Hellfire.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty stupid.
Honestly, we're getting to the point where it's been, post, 4 and a bit hour broadcast. You
you can see on the screen it's 11:30. We started at 7. 4.5 so far.
But he's cleared the board once again. Twilight Guardian and
Boar Control's face.
He is struggling to make anything stick at this point. He's going to drop Enixia. Little does he know, Shadow Flame is available.
But doesn't deal with Enixia.
No.
Maybe next turn you just wait for Sylvanas, Shadow Flame.
Yeah. We'll be able to take control
Well,
of the Enixia.
are you worried about the Enixia too much? If you leave the taunt on board, okay, what can you Shadow Flame instead? Your Imp Gang Boss, perhaps? Maybe even just the Sun Fury Protector?
I think one thing to bear in mind as well is Osha is actually under pretty much no pressure at this point. Like, obviously, there is that 8/8 on board, but he's still got 19 HP to work with. He knows that he's got a lot of healing still in this deck that he can start to find, and, you know, he's running out of cards, so at this point, it's very likely that he draws into that healing. There's only 13 HP on Boar Control, and he has no armor in this deck. He doesn't have his armor hero power. Boar Control is actually in trouble if Osha just starts to push for health.
Yeah, I actually quite like saving the Shadow Flame for the Sylvanas, because that way you know that your board is going to remain fairly healthy.
Okay, now I like it. Now that he's used the Sun Fury on more minions, I like it.
So Enixia goes into Twilight Guardian. I think Curator gets played for sure maybe this turn. Actually, this ends up stealing Curator if you Sylvanas Shadow Flame here.
Yep, and
That's probably lights out for Boar Control after that.
lights out, and he also puts him down to 6 as well.
Yeah.
This is going to feel like a really good turn. These are the turns that you just kind of put your feet up afterwards. And
So these are the turns that you play Hearthstone for. Boar Control looks like all of his family just died.
Really? Is that the face?
Actually,
you,
no,
is
I
that
take
the
that
face?
back.
Is
I
that
take
the
that
face you
back.
would have, Munchables?
Maybe not after all. It was the head in the hands bit that I was going for, but then immediately came out with a grin. I was like, oh. I take that back.
I love you sometimes,
But I think we saw Boar Control kind of miming it there, saying he's had everything. And you're right, it's a Reno deck, but it's just drawn like everything possible. It's just been godly. You've had all the dragons there. You've had all the answers.
There's even a Bran into Defender of Argus,
which is super solid in this given situation because you clear the entire board, still remain to have threats there as well. Whew.
You can even get a bonus imp on the trade. How wonderful. And yeah, this is looking pretty done at this stage. And Osha is going to be pushing forwards to 2-1 in this series by the looks of things. Boar Control likely going to do the honourable Sudoku with his life tap. All over that maths. Will be the end of the game. Osha now 2-1 against our reigning champion, Boar Control. Couldn't really find what he needed in that game, and Osha, well, he found literally everything he needed. He had the perfect answer to everything.
So, you know, we talked about right at the start of this series that Osha has been improving. He's swept through the qualifying series. He has been doing incredibly well in open tournaments in the UK that have been going on in recent times. And you said yourself, Munchables, it's kind of the guy that you really, just like Mysterious, can't really discount in any situation, even versus our reigning champion, who has looked untouchable for quite some number of months thus far.
Yeah.
Osha needs one more, and he beats the reigning champ.
So he's got Warrior left, right? Last week he brought Fatigue Yogg Warrior.
And it looks like it's
Fatigue
Yogg Warrior.
This is the same again. Now, I think Osha has a good chance here because Boar Control's last deck is Druid. And last week he brought the kind of token Yogg Druid, token Malagos Druid, which we have seen already today doesn't match up too well against Fatigue Warrior in most cases. So Osha has a good chance. He has to go up against the Dragon Warrior first, which this game for me can be 50-50. It depends how well the Dragon Warrior starts, and not the best of starts for Boar Control. He does have obviously Finley if he wanted to play him, which he will.
Yeah, I think Finley turn 1 is perfectly fine on Dragon Warrior. often there's much better hero powers than armor up, because you especially when you know it's very likely you're against Control Warrior, you want to be very, very aggressive.
It's a good hand for Osha as well, actually. He has Ravaging Ghoul, which is always nice to have early on, just to get rid of anything. But I mean, there's not really that many 1-health minions, I guess, in Dragon Warrior. But at least it's always nice to get on the board early because it's a solid body.
Yeah.
He's got Brawl to follow up. He has Ironforge Portal as well to gain armor. So all the right tools there that would suggest that this opening hand is in his favour.
And I would say as well that on the other side of the board, it's really quite a different story. Boar Control is just finding all the mid-range cards, but none of those Fiery War X's, none of the Alex Troz's champions, no Fairy Dragons.
I mean, right now it doesn't matter though, because next turn he suddenly hits curve.
Justicar.
Yeah.
Justicar's important as well.
But the Brawl is going to be big for me here. I think the Brawl will be that swing card.
It will. You can play Elise now, which can contest this board at least. 2 executes as well to deal with any kind of big minions.
I mean, to be honest, this is looking fantastic for Osha in my eyes right now. If I'm playing the Dragon Warrior and that's my hand for the first 3 turns, it just feels awful. It feels like there's really not a lot you can do about any of it. And Boar Control seems like he agrees with that sentiment. Gets Ragnaros as well. At least he's finally getting some minions on the board. He's got that Frothing Berserker set up behind a taunt as well. But we know for a fact there are
I don't know
those
what
executes.
he's upset about Elise being played. Is he just annoyed
I think it's just like okay, well, he's set up his late game control. He's set up a minion that's very difficult for me to deal with.
I think what he's saying is, why are you playing that?
Well, I mean, I think it's perfectly fine. I mean, currently fatigue Warrior is a good thing in this meta. So.
Sure. Okay, well, what is hard for Osha to make the decision about here is he's just going to be giving plenty of attack damage to this Frothing Berserker.
He's going to make it a 5-4. I don't think you're too worried with the tools that are in your hand right now.
You have got the Brawl. It is that kind of bailout card.
But we're getting to this point where now the Dragon Warrior is looking better. Its hand, you got to that mid game, you've got the board. Boar Control just needs to be careful that he doesn't overfill the board.
Shield Slam would be pretty good right now for Osha, because he could Ironforge Portal and Shield Slam.
I mean, there is merit here to possibly even Ravaging Ghoul double execute.
Yeah, and maybe not even double execute, just the singular execute and try and get away with that for the time being.
Yeah, double execute's probably a bit overkill. But now this is a decent board for Boar Control, right? And he does have things to work with in the late game as well. He has Curator on turn 7. So Ragnaros turn 8. So although the hand was looking nice for Osha, it's still not all she wrote yet for Boar Control. The execute will definitely come out onto the Ravaging Ghoul, onto the Frothing Berserker. I don't think anyone disputed that. And he will just armor up. He's probably hoping for a nice, tasty Brawl soon, isn't he, really?
I think he wants to get some sort of major value out of going for a Brawl, and I think he feels like, at the moment, it doesn't seem like it's particularly in his favour. Maybe now, though. Maybe now is a time where Brawl actually becomes a thing that, if you win, you could put yourself in a winning position for the game. And actually, to be honest, the most part, outcomes aren't bad. I think
it's just that crusher, isn't it?
Essentially a 50-50, right? 50-50 that if you get Sir Finley or your Ravaging Ghoul, you're in a good position. Or he could just play Justicar and take out this 3-5. I quite like playing Justicar.
You've got to play it sooner rather than later, let's be honest. It's how you're going to win this game. It's just by getting that big armor total up.
You could even play Justicar Execute and deal with the 6-6 this turn.
That was kind of the thought process I was going with, but then that is both your executes used.
You've got to rely on shield slams then, and you might not be given enough time or space to build up the armor required.
A difficult turn for Osha, indeed. He's going to use his Fiery War Axe just to take it out, and then, yeah, Justicar will come down.
I think that's the correct decision there. Just because that armor is so crucial. You need to be able to stack up that extra health.
And it also contests the, well, should contest that 6/6, but because of the spell damage, Blood to Wicker is able to take down Justicar there.
How good is Revenge here? It's okay into Bash and Fari Warax, right?
Yeah, that would clear everything. You still go down to 11 HP though. There's a Ragnaros next turn.
Followed up by a Corcoran Elite potentially, so I see where you're going with this.
This is the thing, I mean, Osha's had the kind of removal, but he hasn't been able to be armoring up every turn as well. He hasn't had the mana to do so.
Yeah.
Are you in a point where you think about brawling and hope for the 2/2?
Apparently not.
Looks like he's going to go for the Bash Revenge. Good sequencing as well, so make sure he keeps the armor at the end of the turn.
Just in
Could
case
be
for the shield
important.
slam, yep.
But we know that Ragnaros is not having any of it. And he's going to be reduced to just 3 HP. Did keep hold of the execute though. That could be crucial if he's found something else.
There you go.
Bash
There's an
is going to be
activator.
there. Let's see. I mean, he can stack up some nice armor this turn as well. And Forge Portal is nice.
Wow.
Ooh.
I've actually never seen that come out of it, and that's a pretty high roll in terms of how much of a threat it poses. It certainly means that Ball Control has to kind of think about dealing with it.
Yeah, Corcoran Elite is a nice answer, but then you're losing damage to face at this point in time.
Onyxia. Onyxia is good here, but how worried are you about that one card being a brawl?
I think you can make a safe assumption that that card's probably Brawl. He's had it in his hand the entire game.
And there's never been a great brawlable board, has there?
No, for sure.
So, if Ball Control just Corcorans and then goes face, it is contested by just the War Axe and then the Hero Power. He could Warden here, maybe? Or Frothing plus Corcoran. Yeah, and then just take down the 7/4, build up the Frothing.
Well, I mean, Osha's just about surviving, but he's not finding too many answers to these situations right now. Do you tank up here, Ravaging Ghoul, and kill the Frothing? Obviously, hit the Frothing before you Ravaging Ghoul.
I think that is your only play, in my opinion. You just
Well, yeah. The other option is Brawl, right? Which
Yeah.
is never going to be
50-50 boys.
never going to be fun.
Yeah, I think you're right, Munchables. I think that's the play. It's kind of straightforward. I think
Yeah.
you save Brawl for... Well, you know Onyxia's there, right? And actually Onyxia is a perfect opportunity to look for a Brawl. My only worry for Osha now is he's just so quickly running out of cards, and there is Curator in the hand of Ball Control, as well as Azure Drake. I mean, there's plenty of options to fill.
One thing for Osha, though, obviously he did play Elise earlier on. He will be able to find that Golden Monkey at some point, which really could be a huge game changer.
There we go. There's a game changer.
If you want a game changer, yeah, that's going to be it.
I feel like, yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's right now. I feel like you might even risk the Brawl here.
Really, I feel like you just go for Yogg-Saron.
I mean, either is a risk, right? Let's be honest. Here we go.
It's going to go for it. Let's have a look then. See how this one's going to pan out.
Not the best
He tops
start.
up his opponents to start things off.
You just need a Flame Strike would be perfect.
Nope.
Well,
Okay.
it's been okay so far.
That's actually... it's not too bad.
Sylvanas could be absolutely huge, but that's all of the spells. At least he got a big taunt out. That's basically just added 7 HP.
Yeah, and he got the Ironforge Portal too, so...
I mean, it wasn't ideal. It wasn't great, but it could have been worse for sure.
It kept him in the game, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's, seems like a fairly good
I
Yogg-Saron.
think he'll be disappointed. He got basically no AoE, which is kind of one of the major reasons that you would ever use it in that situation.
I suppose that polymorph was quite big. It does mean that he's going to be left with a 7/5 on board. He's got a Gorehau, he's got Sylvanas, he's It's not over yet. I mean, the Brawl it could sort things out as well. At least it drew him some cards, so it refilled his hand slightly.
You've always got that threat of Gromash looming over you, though.
Of course.
He's thinking about using Blood to Ichor and trading the sheep in rather than the fairy dragon, which I think makes perfect sense.
The thing is,
you're not going to find much better use for the sheep.
And even if he brawls, and he's successful with the brawl, there is an Elixir to follow that up.
Revenge is a good card.
Solid neutral statement there, Kiernan. But yeah, Revenge is definitely going to be a good one in this situation.
And actually, it's pretty good to say Revenge. You trade Yogg-Saron away anyway, play Sylvanas and tank up.
That's what I'm thinking as well. Sylvanas makes whatever he does next turn a little bit more awkward.
And this is why getting that Justicar down was so important, that even though he has been so close to dying, just the fact that he can add 4 armor every turn is just putting him ever so slightly out of range of any real threat.
Absolutely keeping him out of the game. And I think anyone that's played any amount of Dragon Warrior knows that this is such an annoying matchup. The second Justicar is down, it always feels like you just don't quite have enough to finish things off.
So there is the answer now. Ball Control has got Fiery Warax and Korkron Elite. He's thinking about Onyxia though, because worst comes to worst, Brawl comes through for following Onyxia, and it's just Onyxia. It's Sylvanas stealing a 1/1. But I think he's just going to take. I would personally just think he's going to take the safe option here of using his Fiery Warax and Korkron Elite.
He might even just go face. No, okay, he is scared about.
Execute. Okay. Gorehal remains a good option here now for Osha. He'll be able to deal with all of the smaller, annoying minions coming onto the board.
He could really do with like a shield block.
Or a shield slam.
Shield Slam gets rid of that monkey. It's good because you want to get rid of both of those minions.
Yeah, you don't want to be allowing that 3/2 to start hitting you in face that much. So I think at this point, Shield Slamming is viable because you've dealt with a lot of the big threats that Dragon Warrior is going to throw down. There's one more Draconid Crusher, but you have one more Shield Slam, right?
And also it might be a good opportunity to roll when that comes down later on. You don't know what the situation will be like.
You can see it's like a stalemate between Onyxia and Brawl at this point in time.
Yeah. This is actually surprisingly close, considering how the game was going earlier on. Osha's done a fantastic job to just hold on to this right now. Doesn't opt to use the Shield Slam, wants to hold on to that.
He's very close now. I mean, he can do 10 damage this turn. This draw could be important. There's Grom.
It's Gromash.
It's not
Doesn't actually
quite
add
neutral.
any damage because the Korkron was already in hand. And there's no way to enrage it.
He can't
It's
shield
3
slam
away
it.
though.
He needs shield block. He 100% needs shield block at this point in time.
He's not had a single shield block this turn, this game, which is pretty unfortunate for Osha.
So your hope here is you Blood to Ichor, Grom, Brawl, hope your 2/2 wins?
Yeah, that's literally your line of play. Which is why I actually just favoured using the Shield Slam last turn on the monkey.
I agree.
I think you're in this situation where you just take what you can get.
You
and
do whatever you can,
exactly
I think,
to survive.
because you know you're on such little resources. You know you're just getting through each turn by the skin of your teeth. So,
Are you ready for the Brawl win?
I mean, so let's say he gets the Brawl win. He goes up to 7 and has a 2/2 on board.
And Onyxia happens.
Then Onyxia happens.
Well, let's see. He doesn't win the Brawl.
But it's not.
Could have been worse.
But he's dead anyway.
He is dead.
There is a
Korkron.
So that is going to be the 4th game, and we are going the distance here. Boar Control has managed to even things up. Osha, hold it. To be honest, aside from the initial draw, I got a little bit overexcited, but other than that, it always felt like Osha was completely on the back foot for that game. He was clinging on by the skin of his teeth, and he did a fantastic job of clinging on. He stayed in the game for a very long time, and to be honest, longer than I expected him to. But in the end, Ball Control did have those continuous threats, and he could continue to layer on the pressure.
And sometimes it can become too much, and sometimes that Fatigue Warrior can just get out of range, but Ball control did just have those draws. He managed to get that. That Grommash was quite big as well.
Consistent pressure. Now, we talked about using the shield slam onto the monkey instead. Now, actually, even though that may have kept him in the game maybe one turn longer, it actually wouldn't have solved his problems of that. Grom would have come down regardless, and he'd used both executes. He had one shield slam left. He would have needed something to deal with Grom in fear of an activator, which we know that Ball control had the following turn with Ravaging Ghoul. And then we saw Draconid Crusher come down the draw after that. So that would have been slammed down for a 9-9. You have two threats that actually, with all of the removal gone, you're going to be relying on another very low probability brawl. So even with the play that we thought maybe would have kept him in the game a little bit longer, I don't think it would have won in the game. I think Ball control, just given the way that turned out, was destined to win the matchup here. But now we have Druid versus Warrior, and I think it's really going to come down to the key matchups between these two. Is it going to be Malagos variant, where the Fatigue Warrior in general tends to have an okay matchup? Or is it going to be Beast Druid, the one that we saw Jambray bring, for instance? And it is going to be the Malagos.
It is Malagos indeed.
Should be able to hopefully get Osha's webcam fixed again. Here we go. This Control Warrior once again for Osha. It's not really been doing so hot for him, though. And the Malagos Druid for Ball control. I mean, what do you guys reckon in this matchup? Who do you think this favours?
Definitely the Fatigue Warrior. I mean, even last week we saw him beat a Token Druid with this exact deck. We've seen it today as well. The Fatigue Warrior winning in this case, just because you put yourself out of range of that Malagos, plus all of that damage from Moonfire, etc. So Ball control needs to do what Raven was trying to do, in that he needs to find minions to put on the board and needs to find early pressure just to keep that warrior at a reasonable health, and hope to dear God that Justicar is not drawn.
Yeah, or at least doesn't draw on turn 6 anyway. But as you can see from Osha, he doesn't really have like a multitude of pressure to put down on this druid. He didn't need that as a control warrior really, or as the fatigue warrior. He's just going to want to be armoring up pretty much every turn.
It's just going to be a case of, to start this game, it's going to be armor, and ramp.
Yeah, pretty much. But we can see neither. Ball control hasn't got much ramp in his hand at the moment. And Osha has a lot of ways to deal with any threats that may come down in the early game, specifically like Maya Keeper. Maya Keeper gets dealt with by Bash pretty easily. Not many other things you'd expect a druid to be playing early on, though. Just waiting for Osha to really think about his turn 1 play.
I think he may have got disconnected as we saw the webcam go as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully.
It could also be a matter of, he's going into this matchup that there's going to be a lot of late game situations to think about. Could just be thinking out like what his game plan is moving forward, or he could be disconnected.
I mean, you don't usually you still hit and turn. No, there we go. Okay, he's here. He didn't completely rope out, so he may have just had a bathroom break. You never know.
Does Boar control do the same? Does he just really think through his following turns here?
You say, hey, you want to rope me? I'll rope you back, bro. And then we're here till 1 o'clock.
Oh, that's only 13 minutes. Oh, actually, no.
No,
I can't count.
That's 12 o'clock.
I can't count. I was banking on time zones changing again. Daylight saving, where are you now?
So yeah, this is just a pass turn as well. But the thing is, okay, yes, they're roping turn. If you're watching, you're thinking, why are they roping? It's obvious what they're doing, but you're thinking ahead. You're thinking, what's my turn 2? What's my turn 3? A turn where you might not have as much time to kind of think what you're doing. You need this extra time.
Well, armor up seems good.
Yeah, clear line of play there. Literally no other options. And a similar situation on the other side of the board. Looks like they've decided that they know their game plan now, and they're going to move forward, smashing out those hero powers. Do you drop Acolyte here?
Yeah, I mean, why not? Only punished by Wrath, really. Feral Rage as well.
The only reason I would think not would be if you're really worried about this turning into a fatigue matchup. But at the same time, as the warrior there, I think you're pretty okay anyway.
Druid's going to draw way more cards than you, regardless.
Armor up, Resident Sleeper.
Jinx.
Coin Nourish is available here for Boar Control. Wouldn't be too surprised to see that one come out. Means he can skip a couple of turns here and start to actually be able to drop some minions down.
It's whether he has those higher powered minions though, you know, other than just 2 Gadget Zans, a Malagos and a Yogg-Saron.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen the Ancient of Wars being substituted out for these Gadget Zans.
Hey, for the king.
That's actually a really annoying minion to be put on the board for Boar Control.
Absolutely. He does have Moonglade Portal, but we're just going to see Nourish come through. Because you always want to fill your hand for Emperor Theresian, right?
So I think those Arcane Giants are going to be extremely important.
Sure.
Just trying to get them on the board and try and pose a threat. Try and make the removal, try and get the damage in where you can and just keep him below. I mean, 35 is usually your max if you can get the swipe and the innovates and all that, but it seems like a hard task to get all that in your hand before the warrior can just find Justicar and get to some sort of ridiculous armor amount.
Absolutely.
I mean, even without Justicar right now, I don't think he's struggling for armor.
Exactly.
He's not used a single card to get it, but he's already on 7.
It's going to get to the point where Osha is just going to have to be playing things for the sake of playing things just to keep his hand going out. Well, there is a chance to play some stuff.
Yeah.
He needs to take out this Emperor.
A much needed chance to play stuff.
He's got double execute, he's got shield slam, there's loads of removal in hand right now.
I think Bash is the easiest way right now.
Yeah, for sure.
You're not too worried about keeping that minion on board, right?
You're even thinking about Slam Blood to Ica and
Slam Bash.
Or Slam Bash, yeah.
Wham Bam. Thank you, ma'am. He's going to be able to take out the Emperor and continue to keep that annoying 2-5 on board to just pester Boar Control. And that's so, like, I don't know, just a little bit infuriating for Boar Control, because it's not a minion that you can really afford to commit any resources to, but that just 2 damage every single turn is just so annoying.
Yeah, he might have to swipe it here.
Actually, to be honest...
I don't know if it's worth swiping.
Really?
I wouldn't use the 3. Unless he's just valuing that extra 1 damage onto face. I was thinking use the 4 mana cost swipe because you want something that's reduced in case you don't get... It just helps with the Innovator, with that combo.
You actually might have to use some removal here for Osha.
Oh.
Ironforge Portal, though, that could be good.
I think you Ironforge Portal and see what menu...
Sure.
And just try and contest it rather than...
Close enough.
Yep.
Moonglade Portal, no longer an option.
Because it means that he trades in and uses hero power, probably.
Do you Moonglade Portal onto the Soul Priest?
What do you mean?
Does it...
It heals yourself. Or it heals whatever you target.
Yeah, but what can I Soul Priest?
But that's only for your turn.
It's only for you. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was total healing.
He's ruined Munch's hopes and dreams.
I was thinking of beautiful players that just can't happen, unfortunately.
What Boar Control is doing right now is he's putting sufficient mid-range threats down that he's forcing some sort of answer from Osha. And Osha is reluctant to use his big removal because he's worried about Arcane Giants and the like. And what this is doing for Boar Control is it means that Osha is using his life as a resource. And that life as a resource is really key in this matchup because you want to make sure that you're getting him as close to 26 as possible. Specifically, that you can get the combo out with Malagos. And we know that the almost full combo is there, but there's enough discounted so that 10 mana the full combo can happen. So this is really important in this particular matchup, and Boar Control is doing a good job of it. You know, as a Drakes by themselves, you may think I was only a 4-4, but a 4-4 every turn that isn't dealt with is another 4 damage going through to face. And before you get tank up, that's an extra 2 damage, you know, over the hero power, which actually can be the real swing between these two. And now there's Feral Rage in hand as well, so you can keep this 4 damage alive in terms of just the next turn. You know, you can get another 4 damage into face here.
And I feel that this is why the Gadget Zan is in this deck, so that you can draw as many cards as possible before you allow your opponent to get that much armor. Well, especially in this situation, get that much armor before they find that Justicar. You find all of the cards to finish them off before they can get out of range.
Sure.
And I mean, he's doing an alright job. He's definitely doing a better job than Raven was earlier. Raven was struggling to find those minions, but Boar Controllers found those Azure Drakes earlier rather than Raven when he found them later, but Yogg-Saron made a big difference and kind of kept Raven in the game for longer than expected because it put those Roaring Torches in his deck. So there are definitely still ways of ball control to win this one.
I think Sylvanas is really good here, by the way, because it's actually so good against most of what Druid has to offer, and you've seen 2 swipes already, so you're not too worried about the overall outcome. So I actually really like playing Sylvanas into this particular situation. I wouldn't even mind seeing 1 Revenge and Blood to Ica come down. But honestly, I think the line of play for me, just Sylvanas, armor up. Or even, actually, you might want to remove one thing because you don't want to get a free trade in Sylvanas with the 3 and the 2 on board. We'll see. Maybe we have to see some sort of removal coming through.
Yeah, I think he may consider removal just because he's worried about his life total, which sounds weird at 32, but we know that Malygos Druid can deal such damage, especially if there's already 5 power on board as well. And the fact he's even hovering over Brawl shows he is slightly worried.
Ball Control's done a really good job here of just consistently applying pressure to this life total. He's not going to. I don't think he'll use Arcane Giant. The board right now is too weak to Brawl. Malygos and another Living Roots is almost getting to the point where you're threatening lethal here.
It certainly is.
That bash is going to be a little bit of godsend, though. We'll be able to clear away the 3-3 and get some armor for himself. Do you start to consider using a Shield Slam here just to clear away these minions?
Yes, because you're probably at this point going to be very far off getting 8 armor to use shield block on the target that you know you want to, which is going to be that Arcane Giant. Also, you have 2 executes in hand, so I don't think you have to be too stingy with the use of your removal at this point in time. What would be great for me, I think, is Blood to Ica, Bash, Shield Slam onto the Maya Keeper, and actually then you've got your own slime ready to at least try and contest something on board. Obviously we know that can get removed by something like Wrath, but Osha doesn't know that. He can expect Wrath to be in hand, but this is probably the best play I think he'll go for.
It's going to Blood to Ica onto the 4-4 first. Have to bash that one out.
Really doesn't want to use the Shield Slams. Really doesn't want to use the Shield Slams.
That is going to be an Auctioneer turn. And we'll be able to cycle through a few cards. He has the Living Roots as well as 2 Moonfires. And there's Malygos as well. All Ball Controller has to do now is just keep a little bit of pressure up. He could even drop an Arcane Giant on this turn just to try and force out a little bit more removal, so his Malygos is a little bit safer next turn.
So what, he's got 26 damage next turn, right?
Yeah, he's got 26 damage exactly next turn. So, by going face...
Well, there's the magic 26.
And Osha will
Obviously,
know.
that won't be the case next turn. He will be able to armor up.
What's super interesting here is actually I would play Arcane Giant, because if Brawl comes out, you have the better chance.
He's just looking for more.
Yeah.
Raven Idol was great here as well, because he can search for another Moonfire and another Living Roots.
Straight door wisps to the old gods. Just play as many minions as possible. Make it so that you're very, very likely to win the brawl. There's another Shield Slam.
This is really tough now, because actually, I actually think anything that survives,
He has to kill.
No, he wins. Yeah, so he has to Shield Slam, and if it's a 3-3, he loses the game.
Well, no, because he can Slime Execute.
Oh yeah, that's true. But then you have to use so much for that. Even probably Revenge Execute. It has to be Revenge Execute,
Yeah.
armor up.
Although I suppose you're not too concerned against this style of Druid that they're going to fill the board ridiculously. So I don't think you have to hold on to those Revenges too preciously.
No.
Although we have just seen a Wisp of the Old God.
But he does have 2. So.
If he doesn't armor up, Shield Slam Execute, or armor up or Revenge Execute, he's lost.
Yep.
So,
Which will be one of the first times we've seen. I mean, we've only seen 3 of these matchups so far, but the past couple of times He's always been the fatigue warrior that has won.
You've got to do it.
He's counting up. He's saying, how much could he have? He needs to get rid of the gadgets now.
He's going to do it in the end.
Whew.
A little bit too close.
Did he armor up in time? Please tell me he armed up.
Yeah, there it is. So he will survive another turn, but not convincingly. On 2 HP here. There's the huge burst.
He can drop those Arcane Giants as well, can't he?
He can.
Yeah. I never said it was a good survival. He's definitely feeling battered and bruised at this stage.
So his only hope is drawing another Brawl.
Yogg-Saron is in this deck.
He's drawing a Brawl and getting an Execute.
He's got an Execute.
Only playing 1 Arcane Giant. Shield block certainly makes you feel slightly more comfortable with the shield slams in hand as well.
That's not going to be enough though.
You have to.
I mean,
so you can
revenge shield slam plus execute is going to clear the board.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whew. Close one.
Okay, so now Ball Control will drop another Arcane Giant, but you have Shield Slam to deal with that. So then Yogg-Saron comes into play.
But also...
Wisps of the Old God comes into play.
Yeah, and that's both Revenge has gone.
There is one more Ravaging.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is there a Ravaging Gore?
Yogg comes down.
I've just seen Ball Control attack face.
Oh, he healing touched the face.
The thumbs up from Osha. He's well happy with that one. Well, Wisp of the Old God, not really necessary at this point, as there are plenty of 1/1s already on board.
Oh, it hits the Yogg as well, of all things.
What are the odds? What are the odds?
Shadow Form's actually pretty good.
He's out of cards.
No Moonglade Portals? He's already used them both.
He's used one, actually. I think they only run one.
Oh my goodness. If he gets any more card draw, he's actually going to be in serious trouble.
He's just got Grom
and
Justicar. And Justicar's not going to do anything, but Grom is huge because he can Grom, he can Wrath his own Grom. I think Osha needs his own Yogg here.
He needs his own Yogg or Ravaging Ghoul or something.
I don't think Ravaging Ghoul saves.
Ravaging Ghoul.
No.
No.
Well, there's his Grom.
Grom doesn't help.
No, I think that's it.
The worst part is Osha doesn't know it yet. But he's staring at impending doom.
I love how steely-faced Boar Control is after having received Grom from Thor Steel that you got from Yogg.
He's like, yeah, seems fair.
So his only option, he thinks,
well, that's the enrage.
is to clear this Arcane Giant. He was probably going to Shield Slam it if not.
This is GG's. Straight up GG.
All of the GG's.
If that's Noble Sacrifice as well, he's trying to play around Noble Sacrifice, which it was. Wow.
That is a painful sight to behold. The fatigue is not going to come in soon enough. And with Grommash Wrath in hand, we are going to see that Boar Control, after an agonizing series, Osha getting 2-0 up, I believe. That is going to be Boar Control. Was that? Am I correct in saying that was the reverse sweep?
That was the reverse. Yeah, he got to 1-1.
Okay.
But I mean, technically, if we talk about predictions, Munch was on the money with the 3-2. We went for the 3. You went for the 3-0. I went for the 3-1. So Munch actually directly on the money with this prediction here. Yes, but everyone got the winner correctly predicted. But actually, I've got to say, the way Osha is playing right now, he's looking better and better. And has done, he's been in some close series. Even versus Hello Leroy, he had a pretty close series up against him in last week. So I'm looking forward to Osha's development throughout the season, because I don't count him out yet. Remember, you can still get into the live finals, but, congratulations to Boar Control. He's now 2-0 up as well.
It's going to be a hard one to take for Osha, though, because in theory, at 2-2 with that matchup, he probably was the favourite in my eyes. So it's going to be tough for him to take, but he just needs to look at it and say, look, I played pretty well, but
Justicar didn't
come out, and
come through.
That Yogg was fairly good.
And that was the next thing I was going to say. Like, when you're in that matchup, it's crucial that you get that armor, and then you don't draw Justicar. It's like, Such a painful situation.
Thought Steal is actually one of the best cards against Control Warrior, because everything that you steal is likely going to be high value.
Yeah.
So that's why priests that generally run heavy control matchups with 2 Thought Steals do well against Control Warrior, for instance, because they just get so much value out of stealing all the cards. Burgle Rogue does well against Control Warrior. You just get so much value generally out of Warrior cards in general. They're all pretty good. So yeah, I mean, very, very impressive. Yogg, well done, Yogg.
Good job, Yogg. Very, very. I refuse to
Yogg's
applaud
all round.
Yogg. I refuse to applaud Yogg. But that is going to be the final game of the night done and dusted. So, congratulations to our winners. And speaking of our winners, I will just remind you guys one final time that you guys can join us at the grand final. And I, unfortunately, have to let you guys in on a little secret that the free tickets are gone. There were 10 available. They have been snapped up. But you can buy your tickets for the final at bit.ly/HSUK 2016. That's going to be here in the ESL UK Studio 1 in Leicester on the 13th of November. So come on down and say hi and watch some of the best players in the UK duke it out on our Hearthstone stage. But I do want to take a quick look as well before we go at our final bracket, our standings after week 2, because I think it's shaken up a little bit. Obviously, after week 1, you don't really get a clear view of how the players are standing out. It's going to be a couple of minutes before we get the bracket up, but I mean, after seeing week 2, who are your favourites now moving forward in the Premiership? I'll allow you each to pick a single player who you think is going to almost definitely be moving into finals.
Hello, Leroy. For me,
I wanted to say Hello Leroy too, but I guess I'll throw out a different one in the obvious choice of Ball Control.
Yeah. I think that both of them are playing phenomenally right now. Their deck choices are on par with the meta. They clearly think about all of the decisions. I think they very well research their opponents as well and check what they have played in previous games and stuff like that.
The matchup between those two will probably be explosive. Definitely looking forward to seeing those two go toe-to-toe in this season of the ESL Premiership. But if I were to predict 2 guys that we will see right at the top, it would probably be Hello Leroy and Ball Control. 2 incredibly talented players, and they've been thus far performing incredibly well.
So I said at the start of the show it was the 4 players that made finals last season against 4 players that hadn't. So the only player that lost today from finals was Cypher, and that was the kind of story of last season. He just had this poor start, so he's going to have a lot to live up to. He really needs to turn this around soon, doesn't he?
Do you know what's funny? We haven't mentioned Mysterious. He's also 2-0 right now.
Yeah.
And again, it's that weird.
This is what I was saying earlier. Mysterious just flies under the radar. Everyone kind of discounts, or it's not even that people are discounting him. It's that he kind of just isn't considered a lot of the
It's
time.
unassuming.
And he is a threat. He is a serious threat. He went into playoffs last time, got 3rd place, nearly made it into finals, I'll remind you guys. That was an incredibly close series between him and Cypher, I believe it was. I think the series ended 4-3, if I'm correct. It was a very close one, but he's definitely going to be a serious consideration moving towards finals. But let's take a look at our standings at the end of week 2. See where these players lie. It is going to be Ball Control, Mysterious, and Hello Leroy all sitting pretty on 2-0. Following them, we have 2 of our Torpedo players, Raven and Jambray, both on 1-1. And then down at the bottom of the table, unfortunately, Osha, Cypher, and Green Sheep all on that 0-2. Surprising to see Cypher and Green Sheep on 0-2. Unfortunately, not able to live up to previous results. But one thing I will say as well, I've just had this idea off the top of my head. So I'm banking on the social media guys over there to follow me up on this one. But if you guys come and join us on social media using the hashtag ESLPrem, we're going to put a poll up on Twitter to decide out of our 4 winners tonight who the MVP of the night is. Who do you think played the best tonight, and who do you think deserves the ESL Prem MVP title for this week? Our winners tonight were Jambray, Hello Leroy, Mysterious, and Boar Control. So you can select out of those 4. The tweet will be up in a few minutes' time, so make sure to head over to hashtag ESLPrem. And obviously, that will be on the ESL UK Twitter account, so follow us there at ESL UK. We're also on Facebook, and all of the highlights from tonight will be on Twitter and Facebook, and the VODs will be up tomorrow on our YouTube channel, which is ESL UK TV. But that's about all we've got time for here tonight. So make sure you check us out on social media, but we're going to be ending the stream here. So thank you very much for watching, but we're going to say good night, and we will see you guys next week.